Good evening. Again, my name is Brother Griffin. I'm coming from the True Vine of Israel Bible class. And we're going to open up with Psalm. Psalm 51, starting at verse 1, and we're going to end at verse 4. Go ahead and read.
Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from mine iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgression, and my sin is ever before me. Against thee, thee only, have I sinned, and done this evil in thy sight, that thou mightest be justified when thou speakest, and be clear when thou judgest.
We've read Psalms 51, verse 1 through 4. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word. In Jesus' name we pray. Well, today's lesson is going to be out of history. And we are coming up on Black History Month. And as always, every year, we come to you to show you our true Black history, because our Black history goes back further than Alabama, Mississippi. It goes back further than the slave trade. It goes back further than the west coast of Africa. It goes deeply, deeply down, even to the point that our history comes out of the Bible. And we're going to point this out clearly on who we are, so-called Negroes, and basically why we are in the condition that we're in today. So we're going to pick this up at Genesis chapter 10. Genesis chapter 10, because I pick it up here because there were 8 souls saved from the flood, and it's Noah and his 3 sons and their wives. And through this family, the whole earth was repopulated. If you did not come out of this family, then you don't exist. Genesis chapter 10. These are the progenitors of all the population on this side of the flood. We're going to pick this up at verse 1. Genesis chapter 10 to verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood.
Go ahead.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Mediah, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Raphael,
and Togomar.
And the sons of Javan, Elijah and
Tarshish,
Kittim, and Dodamim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families in their nations.
And these are the Gentiles, what we know as white people. Paul was taught to the Gentiles. Paul was an apostle to the Gentiles. And you find out that Paul taught all in Europe. Okay, and also these are the only people that were called Gentiles, because a lot of people say now, if you're not a Jew, you're a Gentile. Being a Gentile has nothing to do with belief system. Being a Gentile is who you came out of. Go ahead and read verse 6.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush.
The sons of Cush. Cush is another name for Ethiopia. Go ahead.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Septar, and Ramah.
These are the Ethiopians, and for short. And also, this is out the lineage of Ham. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of people think that all dark races comes out of Ham. Well, I have Compact Bible Dictionary out of the from Zondervan, and to show you a picture of it, this is it right here. And if we go and look up ham, let's look up ham just to see what it say about it. Ham. This is the definition of Ham. He said the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and the Canaanites. So Ham was the father of the African nations. You know, you have Ethiopia, that's in Africa. You have Egypt, that's in Africa. The Canaanites. The Canaanites were Africans that inhabited Israel before Israel conquered the land. So before it was called Israel, it was called the land of the Canaan. And but it say not the Negroes. So if we did not come out of Ham, we have to find out who are the Negroes, because we are a dark race. But where do we come from if we did not come out of the father of the dark races? Ham is the father of the Africans. That's why we're going to find out later on in this lesson who the Negroes are. Because if we're not out of Ham, we have to find out another dark people that look like Ham or the Africans that comes out of the Bible. So we have to compare. We have to do a little comparison. Well, this is Ham, okay, and skip down to verse 13 and go ahead.
And Mizraim begat Ludim, and Anamim, and Lehabim, and Nephrutim, and Pathrasim,
and Casluhim,
and
out of whom came Philistine. Okay, now these are the Philistines. So basically, the Philistines were out of Mizraim, which is Mizraim is Egypt. So the Egyptians came out of Mizraim is another name for Egypt. So now we got to find out what color were the Egyptians and the original Egyptians. We're going to go ahead and look at the lineage of Shem, because we have Japheth, which is the father of the Gentiles or the white people. Then you have Ham, which is the progenitor or the father of the African nations. But then again, but not the Negro. So we got to find out where we came from. Let's make a couple of comparisons here. Let's go to Shem. Genesis chapter 11. We're going to read about Shem. As you will see clearly, you have Hamitic blacks and you have Shemitic blacks. Well, we're not out of Ham, so we have to go to Shem and find out. Okay, let's go to Genesis chapter 11 and starting at verse 10.
These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad,
Arphaxad.
2 years after the flood.
Mm-hmm.
And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years and begat sons and daughters.
Right. Okay. Now skip down. We dealing with the lineage of Shem now. Well, skip down to find out who else came out of Shem. Skip down to verse 27. Start at 26 actually. 26. And go ahead.
And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram, Nerah, and Haran.
So Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Go ahead.
Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot.
Okay, now Terah and begat Abram. Well, Abram, his name was later changed to Abraham, which is father of many nations. So now Abraham was a Shemite. He came out of the lineage of Shem. Okay. Now We finna go down further in Abraham's lineage, because Abraham begat Isaac, Isaac begat Jacob. Okay. Um, Pick this. We going to Genesis chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25. And starting with 19.
And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of
Bethuel the Syrian,
the sister of Laban the Syrian.
Go ahead.
And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived.
So this is Isaac. This is Abraham's son. Go ahead and read 22.
And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Now remember that the elder shall serve the younger. Rebecca had twins, and the Lord said they are going to be separated from the womb, or they're going to be at each other from the womb, and the elder is going to serve the younger. So we're going to find out who the eldest was, which was the child that came out first, and the younger, the child that was born second. Okay, go ahead and read verse 24.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb.
Go ahead.
And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
Esau, go ahead.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them.
Okay, now you got twins. When the first came out red and hairy, and they called him Esau. The second one came out where they didn't describe him, and his name was called Jacob. And go ahead and read.
And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the fields, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Go ahead.
And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
Edom, because Edom means red. Go ahead.
And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? So
he had the birthright because back in Israel at the time, the firstborn had the birthright, and he inherited all that his father had. Well, out of the Lord's mouth, we just read that the elder is going to serve the younger. Okay, and go ahead and read.
And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Thus Esau despised his birthright, because he sold his birthright over for a pot of soup. In actuality, everybody knew this is the Lord's plan. Okay, because he said the elder is going to serve the younger. Okay, we're going to go further and go to Genesis 32, because we're going to stick with Jacob. Because Jacob had 12 sons, which later called 12 tribes of Israel. But we got to read where Jacob got his name from. Where he was called Israel. and Genesis 32. We're going to pick this up at 22 because basically after all the stuff went on between Jacob and Esau, um, Esau got mad at Jacob because Jacob had the birthright, and he got mad, and Isaac blessed Jacob. So Jacob, had to flee. So now Jacob has a family, but now he is years and years has passed, and now he is finna meet his brother again. So now he's scared because he's thinking his brother Esau is going to kill him. Okay, so now pick this up at verse 22.
And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them, and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had.
So he's sending everybody towards Esau way, but he's staying back. Go ahead, 24.
And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, and he wrestled with him.
So why was he wrestling with this man? Who is this man? Go ahead.
And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me.
Okay, except thou bless him. So now you're wrestling with a man that is able to bless somebody. Okay, let's find out what the blessing of Jacob. Now, actually, this is an angel from the Lord. But go ahead.
And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God, with men, and hast prevailed.
So now the Lord gave Jacob one of his names, which is Israel, which means you are a prince. So he adopted Jacob at that point and gave him the name of Israel. So now let's go further and into Genesis 37, because this is one of Jacob's son, Joseph. And we're going to read the story of Joseph. Genesis 37. Genesis 37. And pick this up at verse 1, because this is the son of Jacob, or the son of Israel, named Joseph. Verse 1, go ahead.
And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of
Zilpah,
his father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report.
So Joseph was a snitch. Anything his brothers did wrong, he ran right back to Israel, or Jacob, and told him. Go ahead.
Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors.
Go ahead.
And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more.
So Joseph had a gift from God to interpret dreams. Even his own dreams he interpreted. And he interpreted other people's dreams as well. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf.
So they bowed down, or they worshiped Joseph's sheaf. Go ahead.
And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have a dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his
So
words.
now they saying that, oh, so you saying that we are going to bow down to you and we're going to worship you? So now they really hated him this time. Okay, so let's go down further and find out what happened to Joseph. Um, go to Genesis chapter 50. Actually, go skip down to stay in the same chapter, Genesis chapter 37, and go down to verse 15. Okay, because basically, uh, uh, Israel sent his sons out to go and feed the flock and do what they do, and so he told Joseph to go out and see whether their brothers was doing what he told them to do, because Joseph came back and he brought back their evil report. So now Joseph went out to go find his brother. So now he comes up on a man, and now we're gonna pick this up at verse 15.
And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan.
Go ahead.
And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh.
So they seen Joseph afar off coming towards them, and they were like, "Oh, okay, we gonna kill him." Some of the brothers want to kill him. Go ahead.
Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into the same pit,
Into some pit.
And we shall say, Some evil beast hath devoured him, and he shall see what will become. We shall see what become of his dream.
Ain't there some? They finna kill their brother because he not only they don't like him and he got a coat of many colors, and but he got these dreams and everything. So he's saying that we gonna bow down to you and everything. So now they was very jealous of Joseph, and now to the point that they were gonna kill him. Go ahead.
And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again.
Right.
And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, and their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt.
So now these are Ishmaelites. Ishmaelites is another word for Arabs. Okay. Skip down to, they was also called Midianites as well. Skip down to actually keep on. Go ahead. Pick it up in verse 26.
And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites.
The same people. Midianites and Ishmaelites are the same thing. Go ahead.
Merchantmen. And they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt.
Okay, and they brought Joseph, so that's how Joseph got down to Egypt. His brothers sold him to the Arabs, and the Arabs went down to Egypt, and they sold him off in Egypt. So now we got, like I said, to figure out who are the Negroes, or so-called Negroes. We have to compare them to the people that were around. And Canaan, uh, Israel dwelt in the land of Canaan. Well, Canaan is Africa. That is one of the tribes that came out of Ham. It was the Canaanites. So he was in the land of Canaan. And we're going to go further and go to Genesis chapter 45. Genesis chapter 45, because to make a long story short, what happened is when Joseph went down to Egypt, and he was sold, and he was in prison because he was falsely accused of trying to rape um, Potiphar, which is the man who bought him from the Ishmaelites. He was falsely accused of raping his wife. So they put Joseph in jail. And Joseph interpreted dreams while he was in jail. And he interpreted the dream of Pharaoh's cupbearer and everything. So Pharaoh had a dream. And nobody couldn't interpret it. But this one guy who knew Joseph down in jail, he said, well, look, it's this guy down here who interprets dreams. Okay, so Joseph interprets dreams for Pharaoh. Pharaoh made him second ruler in Egypt. And the dream was the 7 years of drought. And so now Joseph, or Israel, sent down his brothers down to Egypt because there was a famine in the land. And Egypt is the only nation that had food at the time. So Israel had to send the rest of his sons down there to get food. And this is where they ran into Joseph. But Joseph was second ruler in Egypt. Okay, and basically, really, they couldn't recognize Joseph because Joseph blended in with the Egyptians, and they thought Joseph to be an Egyptian. Now, if he was a white person, or he was a Gentile, then he would stick out like a sore thumb among all these original black Africans, and you know, they would have been like, "There's my brother right there," but they could not. They did not recognize it, and that's their own blood. Okay, they look just alike. So Joseph. Now we get to the point that Joseph had to reveal himself to his brothers because they still did not know who he was. Go in 45 and start at verse 1.
Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them, and stood by him, and he cried, Cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren.
So Joseph could not hold back no more. Matter of fact, Joseph, when he was speaking to his brethren, he spoke in another language, and they really didn't know who he was, and they just thought he was just an Egyptian, and he was an Egyptian ruler. And but he said, "Look, I can't refrain myself from crying." In other words, he had stood by. He cried. He said, "Cause every man to get out of here. I don't want nobody in here. Just me and my brothers." And then he had to make himself known to his brother. Go ahead and read verse 2.
And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence.
Oh yeah, they was troubled at his presence because years ago they did some dirt and they wanted to kill him. So now he is in the position right now to have all them killed. So yeah, they were scared of Joseph at the time. Go ahead. Verse 4.
And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither. for God did send me before you to preserve life.
And he did. Many times God allow stuff to happen in your life simply because he not only try to preserve life, but there's something good out of it. Especially if you call yourself a Christian and you're going through persecutions. You don't know the Lord probably be preparing you for something that is too great for you right now. So he got to take you through training and everything, and he had to take you through something for the greater good. So, but the Egyptians were Africans. They came out of Mizraim. Okay. Now Joseph is mistaken to be an Egyptian. Well, if I'm sorry, if Joseph was not a Hamite, and he is not a white person or a Gentile, and then if Ham is the father of those out of those African nations, but not the Negro, then evidently we Negroes, we are a dark race. So this had to be us, and we're gonna know for sure before this lesson is up. We're gonna know for sure that these Hebrew Israelites that came out of the lineage of Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which later his name was changed to Israel, were indeed the true Hebrew Israelites of the Bible. So let's go further. So we know Joseph was mistaken to be an Egyptian. Let's go and find out who else. Actually, go into Genesis chapter 50, because the other nations saw Israelites and Egyptians in the same place, and we're gonna find out what they called them when they saw that. Go to Genesis chapter 50. Go to Genesis chapter 50, and we're gonna pick this up at verse 7, because this is when Joseph's father, which is Israel, this is when he died. Go ahead.
And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. And all the house of Joseph, and his brethren, and his father's house, only their little ones, and their flocks, and their herds, they left in the land of Goshen.
They left in the land of Goshen because when Joseph was ruling in Egypt, and after they found out who Joseph was, Joseph said, "Go and get my father, and have him come down to Egypt and live in the land of Goshen." But Joseph's father said, Israel said that, "Look, I'll go down to Goshen, but when I die, please bury me here in Canaan." So now, when Israel died, they had to come back to Canaan to bury him. Okay, go ahead and pick it up at verse 9.
And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning of his father 7 days.
Go ahead.
And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of the Atad, and they said, "This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians."
This is a grievous moment to the Egyptians. He didn't say anything about these are the grievous moment for the people up there, the grievous moment for the Egyptians, the Israelites, and so forth and so on. They said this is a grievous time for the Egyptians because all of them look like Egyptians, black people that was up there just bearing one of their own. Go ahead.
Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan.
Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. That was a grievous time for the Egyptians. So now we know Israelites and Egyptians look alike. But then again, let's find out another person that was mistaken to be an Egyptian. Let's go to Exodus. Go to Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1. And we are going to start at verse 1. Exodus chapter 1. And starting at verse 1, because this is the time when when the children of Israel were still dwelling in Egypt and everything. Start at verse 1.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob: Reuben,
Simeon,
Simeon, Levi, and Judah.
uh, Issachar,
Issachar,
Zebulon,
and Benjamin. Dan and
Naphtali,
Gad and Asher,
Asher,
and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already.
Okay, go ahead.
And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all the generations.
All that generation, Joseph and all that generation, they died off. Israel and his sons, all of them that went down, there were 70 souls that went into Egypt. And of course, they prospered under Joseph. And so Joseph died, and all that generation that went down into the land of Egypt. Go to verse 7. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them.
So Israelites was all over the place. They was all over the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
So now you have a new king that did not know Joseph, okay, and he don't know who these Israelites are. So all he know is there was a whole lot of them, and they was almost about outnumbered the Egyptians, and they start getting paranoid. He started getting paranoid and started saying that, man, these people are a whole lot of people. Maybe they're going to join our enemies. When the enemies come against us, they're going to join us and then prevail over us. So now we got to deal wisely with these people. Now, in other words, we trying to either do some ethnic cleansing. Go ahead.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
So the more affliction that he put on the Israelites, the more they multiplied. I mean, they just kept multiplying. So now, go ahead to verse 15 and go ahead.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, When ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then ye shall live. She shall live.
So he said, if it be a boy, kill it. Telling the midwives that, kill him. But if it be a daughter, save them. Why? Because the man carried the seed. Whatever your dad is, that's what you are. So ethnic cleansing, you kill off all the males, and that's how you wipe out a nation. Go ahead.
But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive.
Go ahead.
And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, Why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them.
So he said they are lively and are delivered before the midwives come in unto them. So they was having so many babies that the midwives could not catch up. They was having too many. Go ahead.
Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, And the people multiplied and waxed very mighty.
So now the Lord having these people, they reproduce, and the Israelites everywhere, and they continually to reproduce. Now we're gonna look at one of the tribes of Israel, Levi. Okay. Now there was a son born out of Levi. We're finna read Moses. Go ahead, just pick it up at verse 1 in chapter 2.
And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months.
Go ahead.
And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with the slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink.
So basically, she made a boat. She made a boat, little boat, and daubed it with slime and pitch or tar. And she put him in the river. Go ahead.
And his sister stood afar off, and with that would be done to him.
Okay, so and the sister stood afar off to see what would be done to him. So Miriam, his sister, she was following the little makeshift boat all the way down the Nile. Go ahead, pick it up at next verse.
And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she set her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children.
That this is one of the Hebrews' children. And even though they looked alike, but the only difference was the Hebrew male child is circumcised on the 8th day. So basically, that's how she knew probably that he was a Hebrew child. But it was just a black child in a boat. Go ahead.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother.
Go ahead.
And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it.
Basically, so now Moses knew that he was a Hebrew. Moses knew because not only was he raised by his mom for 3 months, and when the time came, she hid him, and she couldn't hide him no more. But now Pharaoh's daughter found her, found Moses, and gave Moses over to Miriam, his sister. Said have his mom to nurse him, and then basically bring him back. Go ahead and pick it up at verse 10.
And the child grew, and she brought unto him Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, Because I drew him out of the water.
Because I drew him out of the water. So basically, Pharaoh's daughter claimed Moses to being her son. Now, how is an original Egyptian, a black person of a dark race, claim a white baby for her child? It's impossible. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's house and posed as his grandson. So he had to look like Pharaoh. He had to look like the Egyptians, even to grow up in Pharaoh's house. If she would have sat a white baby on Pharaoh's knee, he would have looked at it and was like, "Why is this baby as leprous?" So he had to look like an Egyptian. So, but we're going to go further and go to where we picked it up off. Where we left off at.
10.
All right. Go to because what happened was Moses looked on, as Moses grew when he was grown. He looked on a Hebrew man getting beat by an Egyptian man, a taskmaster. So he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. So when Pharaoh heard about it, Pharaoh got mad. So Moses had to flee. Pick this up, verse 15, and go ahead.
Now when Pharaoh heard of this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well.
Mm-hmm.
Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and filled the troughs of water to water their father's flock.
Mm-hmm.
And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and held them and watered their flock.
Go ahead.
And when they came to
Ruel,
their father, he said, How is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water through enough for us and watered the flock.
So he said an Egyptian helped us, but it was Moses. Moses is not an Egyptian. Egyptian is an African, but Ham is the father of the dark races, and according to our Zondervan dictionary, Ham is the father of the dark races, but not the Negro. Okay, so if we are dark, Negroes are dark, Africans are dark, then we got to find out. We got to compare them. So now Moses is mistaken to be an Egyptian. Moses was grew up in Pharaoh's house and posed as Pharaoh's son. Again, this is Black History Month, so we got to find out where the Negro comes from. So now let's go further and go to Exodus chapter 4, because now Moses had fled from the face of Pharaoh and he went off, and so now the Lord is calling him to go back into Egypt and have Pharaoh to let the children of Israel out of Egypt so they can serve him, the Lord, that is. And start at verse 1.
And Moses answered and said, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee.
So Moses was smart. Moses knew how this people were. Man, the Lord ain't send you. How we know? So the Lord going to give Moses a couple of signs to show in front of the people. And we're going to see some of these signs. Go ahead, verse 2.
And the Lord said unto him, What is that in thine hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Put forth thine hand, and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand, and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand.
Okay, that's one sign. Go ahead.
That they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, hath appeared unto thee.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said furthermore unto him, Put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow.
Leprous as snow. What color is snow? White. So if it was leprous as snow, his hand, if Moses was anywhere near a white man, it wouldn't have made any difference. What kind of sign is that? Basically, Moses put his hand into his bosom and brought it out, and it was white. So if I, right now on this video, if I put my hand here and take it right back out and it look like a white man hand, then, I'll be better than David Blaine. So, but basically, this was a big sign that a man with a black man taking his hand out and is white. So we're gonna go further. Now we pretty much established the point that Israelites look just like an Egyptians, which were Africans. Okay. Now let's go and look at some of these curses here, because the Lord brought Israel out from the land of Egypt. And he said, keep my laws and statutes. He gave him good laws. He gave him statutes. He gave him judgments. He gave him everything. He said, which if a man do, he shall live. So we're going to pick this up at Deuteronomy chapter 28. And we're going to read some of these, this ultimatum that the Lord gave the whole nation of Israel. Go and start at verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Oh, yeah.
And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So God gave the nation of Israel an ultimatum. In other words, keep my commandments and get all these blessings. And I see people right now saying, oh, I'm blessed in the field, I'm blessed in the city, I'm blessed in the field. They want to deal with all the blessings and everything, but what they don't realize that is the Lord put an if statement in there with such a condition. If you do this, then I'll do that. If you don't do this, I'll do this. So go ahead and pick it up in verse 3.
Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field.
Go ahead.
Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground.
The fruit of thy body is your kids. Go ahead.
And the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kin, and the flocks of thy sheep.
So you're going to be blessed in everything that you put your hands to. You're going to be blessed if you keep the commandments of God. Okay. Now, on the other hand, let's find out these curses that the Lord said will come upon them if they do not keep his commandments, laws, and statutes. Okay, go ahead to verse 15.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments, and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So all these curses that we're finna read about is going to come and they're going to overtake you. Okay, hold your finger here and we're going to find out. We're going to read in the book of Daniel. Read in the book of Daniel because Daniel was making a prayer. And we're going to find out did the children of Israel keep the agreement that the Lord gave them? Did they keep the commandments and were they blessed? So let's go to the book of Daniel, and we're going to go to Daniel chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9. And this is Daniel. Daniel is praying to God. Okay, and he's confessing his sins. And pick this up at verse 8.
O Lord, to us belongeth confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee.
Confusion of faces. Computer. They are ashamed, because they have sinned. Skip down to verse 11 and go ahead.
Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, but they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against thee.
Okay, so now he say all the curses are poured upon us that is written in the law of Moses, because we have sinned against him, which is the Lord. Okay, now go back to Deuteronomy chapter 28. So now we know that these curses are in effect on Israel because Israel have sinned and they have came under the curses that's written in the law of Moses. Okay, we're going to look at some of these curses and find out who fit these curses. Go to where we left off at here.
15.
Go to 15. Well, yeah, go to 15 and read it.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments, and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Go ahead.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
So you can move out into the country, you're cursed. You can stay within the inner city, you're cursed. Go ahead.
Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kin, and the flocks of thy sheep.
So now your kids are going to be cursed because you did not keep the laws and statutes of God. Go ahead.
Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
You're just going to be cursed all the way around. You're going to be cursed. Go ahead.
The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me.
So you are going to anything you put your hand to do is going to fail as a people. Now you probably have a couple of so-called Negroes that are successful, but we as a people, as a nation, no, we're not going to be successful. We're going to go further. Go ahead and go to 25. Go ahead.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed unto all the kingdoms of the earth.
What other nation of people have been removed out of their lands and scattered among the nations? What people that cannot trace themselves back to a country, they have to trace themselves back to a continent, Africa. Africa has a whole lot of countries in there, but Africa is a continent. So if you call yourself African American, are you really? Are you an African? No, you're not African, because they don't even claim you. But then again, the children of Ham, which is the Africans, they know that you're not an African. But then again, Ham is the father of the dark races, but who? Not the Negro. So we're going to go further. Go ahead, pick it up at verse 26. Go ahead.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
You know, this happened during slavery when they left the bodies hanging in the trees, and all the birds came and just plucked them. Didn't nobody come by, and they didn't move them, and they didn't anything. They plucked away. They plucked your eyes out until the body was gone, unless somebody came and the family members come and take you down and bury you. Go ahead.
The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the hemorrhoids.
The hemorrhoids. Go ahead.
What?
Yeah, hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids
Okay.
ain't nothing more than tumors.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hemorrhoid, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed.
Go ahead.
And the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart.
You're going to be mad. You're going to be mad at your condition. You're going to be mad. You're going to be blind because you don't know why this is happening to us as a people. Then you're going to be astonished. How in the world we can jump the highest, we can run the fastest, we can sing the best, we set the trends that the world follow. But then again, we are a people that don't have a language. We are people that don't have a country. And you're just going to be astonished. You're going to be surprised, like why we have so much talent and we are the biggest consumers. Why we cannot rise as a people. And it's going to make you mad. It's going to make you blind. It's going to make you astonished. Go ahead.
Thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
Nobody is going to stand up for the cause of the Negro. Nobody is going to stand up for your cause. Anybody who try to stand up for your cause, they get assassinated. So you know that through history, anytime somebody try to do something for us, it falls. It falls to the ground because you have sinned against your God. Go ahead.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
So you're going to do all this work, but then again, you're not going to reap the benefits. You can build Washington D.C., no benefits. You can build all the houses. You can build a house on the hill, a mansion, the best mansion, but you're not going to live in it. Um, skip down to verse 32 and go ahead. Skip down to verse 32 and go ahead.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine
It ain't
hand.
gonna be no might in your hand when that slave master come over there and take your baby away from you as soon as it's born. You ain't gonna have no might in your hands when your husband get carried off and you can't even save him, or your wife get carried off, you can't even save him. It ain't gonna be no might in thy hand. Go ahead.
Thy fruit of thy land and all the labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away.
We did not know
All,
anything about these nations that's gonna be oppressing us. We didn't know anything about that. Go ahead.
for that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes that you're going to see. You're going to be mad, but you can't do nothing about it because why? This thing is from the Lord. Nobody. It is not from the white man. It is not from the Arab man. It is not. This thing is from the Lord. We just read. If you do not keep these commandments, Israel, these curses are going to be upon you. Go ahead.
The Lord shall the Lord shall smite thee in thy knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed,
Mm-hmm.
and the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head.
Go ahead.
The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
Other gods, wood and stone. Our ancestors did not know anything about Christmas. Our ancestors did not know anything about the Easter feast or the feast towards the goddess of fertility, Astarte. Our forefathers did not do none of that stuff. That's why you cannot find that in the Bible. Every kind of foolishness, every kind of new stuff that comes around, all of a sudden Israel is aboard. Everything besides coming back and keeping the laws and statutes of God that we are supposed to do. So therefore, we are under the curse. Go ahead and read verse 37. Read verse 37.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
So wherever nation that you're going to be in, you could be in America, you can be in Haiti, you can be in Jamaica, you can be anywhere, and you still going to be a nigger. You're still going to be a coon. You're going to be a byword is something that you are not. A nickname, a pet name, a shine, porch monkey, jigaboo. All these names are going to be upon you. Even a proverb. A proverb is a short story. And when I was stationed overseas, the thing was at midnight, then the black men going to grow tails. They used to tell those little stories over there and have people scared of black people because they think we're going to grow tails at night. That's a proverb. It's a little short story. Okay. Go ahead, Father. We're gonna move to 41. Skip down to verse 41. Go ahead.
Okay. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
They shall go into captivity. You're not going to enjoy your daughters and sons. They're going to go into captivity. You're not going to see them grow up. Go ahead.
All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume.
Go ahead.
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
The stranger back then, the stranger was anybody that is not of Israel. Any other nation other than Israel was called a stranger. So the stranger or another nation is going to come into your neighborhood, and what they're going to do is they're going to prosper. They're going to send their kids off of your money. They're going to sell you wigs. They're going to sell you all kind of products. They're going to sell you rugs, but they are not going to look like you. They're gonna come down to the black neighborhood. They're gonna come down to the ghetto, and they're gonna sell all these knockout products. And then again, they're gonna send their kids off to college. So the stranger that's living among you, everybody that has a store, do not look like you. They sell you gas. They don't look like you. They sell you everything but in your neighborhood, but they do not look like you. As a matter of fact, some of the black stores that was around when I grew up, they shut down. But then again, another Chinese store come up in there, and they prosper, and they prosper, and they prosper, and because you keep them in business. But this is your neighborhood. This is what they're talking about. The stranger he's gonna exceed. Go ahead.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
You're not gonna be you're gonna be going seeking loans for a house. You are gonna be the consumer. You are not going to be the financier. You're not going to own the banks. You're not going to have the big money to lend out to people. Every time you look around, you're going to having your hand out for a loan or for anything, for any kind of government assistance. Go ahead.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
Go ahead.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So these curses is going to be upon you for a wonder, a miracle. They are going to be upon you, your seed or your descendants forever. Now, it is a wonder that how can a whole nation of people be wiped off the map? How a whole nation of people cannot have a name? Don't nobody know where they come from. You cannot call yourself after a country. You cannot call yourself an Italian unless your dad was an Italian. You cannot call yourself a Chinese unless your dad was a Chinese. So where does the Negro come from? We had to come from somewhere, or some of us came from, due to the slave master raping, probably have European descent. But for the most part, the Negro do not have anything. He don't have a language. He don't have a country. He don't have anything. And then you hide behind spirituality when the actuality is this is the truth. This is the truth right now. Because when it's all said and done, we will have to be spiritual Israel in a way. But right now we are dealing with color simply because we are dealing with Black History Month. We're trying to put our finger on who this Negro is. Go ahead, verse 47.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness and in want of all things.
You're going to be in want of all things, everything. You're going to be lacking a whole lot of stuff. And again, this is as a nation of people. We went down into Egypt, 70 souls, came out a mighty nation, over 600,000 people. This is a nation. What happened to these people? It cannot be the Jews that's over there right now, because we can read the Revelations saying that the ones who call themselves a Jew is a lie. So we got to find out who are these people. Go ahead and read and finish off that verse.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
He's gonna put a yoke of iron on your neck until he destroy you. That is chattel slavery and also mental slavery. Go ahead.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
We did not understand English. We did not understand their language, but they took us. They took us, and we were sold. We were sold by the people who we claimed to be. We were sold by the Africans. We were sold by Hamites. They did not sell their own people. They sold their slaves. Go ahead.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
He's not going to show favor to the old. He's not going to show favor to the young. You could be young, you could be old, you still going to be picking cotton. You could be 69 years old. You still gonna be called a boy. Your child is gonna be out there picking cotton, and you've been picking cotton all your life, and you're looking at the generation behind you. They're gonna be picking cotton too. So, yeah, they did not regard the person of the old or the young. Skip down to verse. Skip down to verse. Like I say, this whole chapter is dealing with the curses on a whole nation of people. Now, they might not be happening today because they have happened in the past. You know, as far as like eating the kids and stuff like that, you got to read in history to find out what happened. But in each generation, Israelites had this curse on them because he said these curses are gonna be upon you to let you know who you are and have you to be reminded that you broke the laws and statutes that the Lord gave you to keep. So therefore, all these curses are poured upon you. And that's what Daniel said. And these curses are supposed to be upon you and your seed forever. How long is forever? So these people are walking the earth right now. And you want to find out, it is the so-called Negro. Go and skip down to verse 63. 61. Skip down to verse 61 and go ahead.
Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
And you wonder why every new disease, every new plague, is going to hit the black community 10 times worse is going to hit any other nation. Why? Because high blood pressure, that is not written in the law of Moses, all the curses. Diabetes, that is not mentioned in here. Mesothelioma, that is not, all this stuff that is not in here is going to hit us. So those diseases and everything hit the black community 10 times worse. Go ahead and read.
And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of the heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God.
So you're going to be few in numbers, even though we are few in numbers. But that's how you could be few in numbers. We could go back to the apartheid situation where you got a whole majority controlled by the minority of people. You had the small number of whites controlling a whole country of blacks. And, you're going to be few in number. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do your good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you not. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
So that land of Canaan that they went to go and possess it and call it Israel, the promised land that was promised to Abraham and his descendants, he said you're going to be plucked off of it. He said you're going to be plucked off of it, and you're gonna go and into all the countries on the face of this planet. And anywhere you go, you're gonna see a Negro. You can go to Alaska, you're gonna see a Negro. Might be a Negro Eskimo. Then again, his dad is a Negro. You go to Canada, you're gonna see Negroes. You go to Jamaica, you're gonna see Negroes. You go to Europe, you're gonna see Negroes. You go down to the South Pole, you're gonna see a Negro. Everywhere, we are everywhere. But then again, everywhere we are few in number. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Look at them gods again. We did not know anything about Christmas. We didn't know nothing about that stuff, but we did know about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We knew about Passover. We knew about the high days. We knew about the Sabbath day. We knew about those days that God gave us to keep. However, we didn't keep them, and that's why we just grab on to anybody's God and we serve them. Go ahead.
And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
You ain't going to find no rest. You ain't going to find no ease. I don't care what you can. I mean, I'm a witness. I will go anywhere, and I had the same problem. I will go anywhere and I had the same problem. However, I sat and I try to pray and repent and go and try to keep these laws and statutes. So the Lord in his word said he will turn your captivity and he will give you some ease. But this thing right here, he said, you ain't gonna find no ease among these nations, especially if you keep on worshiping gods of wood and stone. Go ahead.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eye, and sorrow of mind.
You always going to be sorrowful. Sorrowful mind. You're going to be a despairing. You're going to have a despairing mind. I mean, oh man, I'm a black man. I can't do nothing. You know, oh, the white man going to keep me down and all this other stuff. So you resort to other things to fill in that void, and you don't understand that the laws and statutes of God will fill that void in your life. Go ahead.
And thy life shall hang in the doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
No, you're not going to have insurance for your life. Why? Because everybody is out to get you. I mean, everybody is out to get you. The police are out to get you. Everybody, I mean, the system is out to get you. You come in there on a speeding ticket. You stay in there 6 months. You know, you go in there on some crazy charge, and they try to chunk up the charges on you. They try to do everything, and you know, you don't know whether you're gonna live or die the next day, because so many of us is dying in the streets. You don't know who's gonna be next. Go ahead.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
So all this stuff you're seeing going on in the streets, everybody dying, all these kids getting murdered, everything that you're going to be seeing, you're going to be like, oh man, I'll be glad when the morning come, because I'm scared to go out at night. But in the morning time, people are still getting killed, so oh man, I'll be glad when night comes so they can't see me. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way thereof. I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
You cannot say that this has happened to any other nation besides the so-called Negro. And not only that, he said the Lord going to bring you into Egypt again with ships. You do not need a ship to get from Jerusalem to Egypt. He was talking about a captivity, because Egypt then meant captivity. They knew it, and they were not going to return to Egypt. But then again, he said that you are going to be brought again to Egypt or in captivity with ships. By the way, what I spake up to thee, whatever I spake unto thee as far as Jerusalem, you ain't going to see it no more. Why? Because there's another people that's going to replace you when you leave. So this happened back in 70 AD. But the people you see over there are not the Jews. The Jews are under these curses. And those Jews are not under any curse I know, because they own almost half of Hollywood and they own all the banks. So how could they be Israel? This did not happen to them. This happened to only one people. And he said, you're going to be sold for bondmen and bondwomen, which no man shall buy you. I have not seen a Jew sold as bondmen and bondwomen. I didn't. I saw in history where they went to Poland and they got persecuted. But then again, this is not one of the curses that was going to befall the Israelites. That's why they can't call themselves Israelites. They got to call themselves Israelis, because they do not deserve the name. They do not deserve the right to call themselves Israelites, because the true Israelites are scattered on the four corners of the earth and will not be gathered until the Lord make his second coming. So with that, I thank you for your time.